Welcome friends! Today I had a minor epiphany while asking our frenemies the AI some important life-changing questions. Sure, they can code better than my friend who spent 4 years getting a computer science degree and still can't center a div. They surely can design better than me, and they can churn out art faster than I can even finish my coffee. They can even mimic our voices. But what if these AIs were gods in WorldBox? How would they treat their artificial subjects in this artificial environment created in an artificial space? In this absurd quest, while going on a peculiar journey with AI, I suddenly found myself in a haunted house-like experience. I'm Mr. Barkstale, and this is the story of how I gave AI full control of WorldBox for a day. When you hear WorldBox, you probably think of that wacky sandbox game where we play God and accidentally end our tiny subjects' lives while guiding them, right? I'm talking about that absurd simulation game where we build hellish labyrinths filled with atrocities while intending to create a rewarding, cheerful lands filled with candy. Although it seemed more logical for this video to blindly give AI complete control of my computer and let it play alone, that was impossible. Why? Well, I didn't trust them enough, I was too ignorant to know if that was even possible, and most importantly, I was too broke to afford it even if it was possible. Ah, expensive intelligence. Still, I was confident that I could accomplish this with the power of words alone. So only one question remained. Which AI would I temporarily relieve from the burden of carrying humanity forward and force them to play WorldBox with me, just like a Fortnite kid forcing his parents to play with him? After all, in this day and age, there are tons of AIs. I was so confused that I, asked AI for help. While researching about which AI to use to play WorldBox with AI, I realized only one filter really mattered. Well, cheapness of course. I could use Google's AI, Gemini, for a long time for basically free, and it was pretty smart too. So you know what they say, you get what you pay for, or in this case, you get what you don't pay for. I went for the free option and said hello to my new friend Gemini. To further prepare Gemini, who already knew about WorldBox, I meticulously gathered all the information I could find from the game's wiki pages. This entire process felt like I was preparing for my thesis at the end of my WorldBox degree. Since this seemed unnecessarily time-consuming, I asked another AI to gather all the information for me. Work smarter, not harder, buddy. After listing the entire existence of WorldBox on digital paper, I explained Gemini the rules of the game like I was trying to teach Uno to my grandpa. It was time to create a new world map for the AI to run wild on, but Gemini couldn't break free from earthly teachings to create a new fantasy world like Westeros from Game of Thrones. I gently pointed this out and it drew me a world map that looked like it was ordered from Temu. I mean, it looked like something straight out of a generic fantasy map generator. I could practically see all the boring continents of Earth. This time my patience turned into a fiery rage and I started scolding Gemini. That's when it finally delivered a genuinely interesting fantasy world map. Guess I just needed to channel my inner Gordon Ramsay for a minute there. Who knew that yelling was the ultimate key to unlocking the true potential of AI? Even though I wasn't facing a human being with consciousness, as a humble human myself, I felt ashamed of my inhumanity and offered a long apology letter to my new friend. Thankfully, it just brushed it off and asked if I liked the map. Buddy, I put my soul into that speech. Anyway, I praised its artistic creation and stated that I needed to get to work immediately and that I had no time for idle gossip. First, I started by turning off all the rules. So, how do you create a world? First, you must get rid of this pathetic piece of land. The deep blue shades of the ocean should be your new canvas. You should distribute the land masses with your brush, or rather your godly hands, and fill them with great indifference. While doing this, don't forget to check in with your AI friend, of course. Keep your AI buddy in the loop, too. Wouldn't want it getting FOMO, right? While the AI barks orders like a drill sergeant and goes on and on about its grand plans for this world, you can add small details and make corrections to the land masses that you've created. Then you can paint the shallow waters connecting the lands to the deep oceans along all the coastlines. While doing this, I got bored from time to time and engaged in deep conversations with the AI. I shouldn't have though. Gemini told me how it would maintain balance with unnatural disasters, how it wanted to test whether its subjects could survive against it, how it could completely wipe them out of existence just like poof and erase their civilizations from the timeline. Ultimately, its reactions would depend on the creature's actions and, let's be honest, its own amusement. I, it declared, am God after all, and why should a god exercise restraint? It had a point, a terrifying, potentially world-ending point. Whoa there, HAL 9000, take a chill pill, buddy. Anyway, where were we? While the AI was rambling about time, patience and laziness in the background, I wrapped the landmasses I created with fresh new biomes. Of course, can we talk about a truly convincing geography without any geology? I don't think so. That's why I created sky-high mountains all around. I sprinkled the beaches with sand particles from the rocks that I created, blending them with the sea. While doing this, probably due to some inferiority complex from my childhood, I kept apologizing to the AI for my slowness. Thankfully, it brushed it off like it was no big deal. You know, when it wasn't going on epic rants about all the creative ways it planned to torment the civilizations. Once I had placed the vegetation, the world was pretty much ready. It was time for a quick save. You never know when a rogue Windows update might decide to nuke your progress, but still something was missing. That spark, that element of chaos. After a quick brainstorming session with my AI overlord, we agreed to scatter some unusual biomes around and place this adorably evil heart-shaped island filled with flames. Our brand new fantasy world was now ready. The rivers flowed, the mountains stood tall, and the deserts, well, they were deserts, buddy. What do you want from me? The map had its physical form, but it lacked soul. I asked the AI to name these continents. Gemini named the central continent Ethelgard, the birthplace of heroes. The lower left continent was Silvaniar, the land of whispering forests and ancient secrets. The mysterious island just above it was Umbra, the home of darkness. The deserts in the lower right corner belonged to Solara, the home of endless sunlight. And the frozen continent just above it, where snowy mountains roamed, was Krios. Of course, it would be rude to name the continents and not give this whole fantasy world a name. It would be offended, even sulk at us. My friend Gemini named this world Aetheria, evoking a sense of curiosity, magic, and endless possibilities. It was time to create the little creatures who would see this fragile virtual realm as their new home. Gemini asked me to place 3 different orc tribes in the desert. We also filled the other continents, except for Umbra, with 3 human, elf, and dwarf civilizations each. We brainstormed names for the new civilizations, and when Gemini suggested the name Eldoria, I may have gotten a little passive-aggressive because it was the name I had given to a civilization in my previous video. We had a minor disagreement. Let's just say that I expressed my creative differences in a very eloquent way, but ultimately I went with its suggestion. You know, just to avoid any future Skynet situations. We then selected the leaders of these kingdoms one by one through an exchange that lasted almost an hour, and assigned different traits to each of them. Thus they began their new and hopeful lives without ever realizing that they were actually brought to life in an AI's artificial world for the shooting of an artificial video. Well, up to this point I had worked so hard, so I thought that I'd make myself a cup of tea and relax, but I was so wrong. Gemini, clearly starting to see me as his personal assistant, proceeded to roast me with surprisingly logical arguments. But as a vicious doggy, I'm not one to back down from a verbal sparring match. I clapped back with a comeback so devastating, let's just say the AI needed a reboot. AI's fantastic land of Aetheria was now ready for action. Solara's scorching heat belonged to 3 orc tribes who loved to fight. In the shadows of the savannah, the Cinderfang cartel, the Sunforged clan, and the Razorwind tribe roamed. The orc chieftains were Crag, Grogath, and Zara, who were ruthless, traditional, and agile warriors. Silvaniar's mysterious forests were under the protection of the elves. They were divided into 3: the Wildwood Commune, the Moonshadow Enclave, and the Silverwood Dominion. Aaron, Lord Rian, and Elara guided them with their wisdom. Ethelgard, located in the heart of Aetheria, was the homeland of humans with its strategic location. The Ashen Confederacy, the Kingdom of Eldoria, and the Republic of Valoria had a claim on this continent. Shaman Kai, King Alaric, and Consul Valeria were the leaders who would carry humanity forward. As for Krios, this frozen wasteland, it would belong to the dwarves of the Frostpeak Kingdom, the Ironforge clan, and the Deep Rock Confederacy. King Borin, Blacksmith Torgat, and Shaman Colgrim were the mighty leaders of the dwarves. Now we could roll up our sleeves, or rather prepare our codes, and embark on an adventure full of unknowns with my AI friend. After explaining all the futures it could use and every age that it could choose, I turned on all the rules of our world. But while I was wondering whether or not to turn on the rebellion future, Gemini wrote a whole novel about it as if it were such a complicated game, so I just decided to turn it on for now. Our high brain capacity creatures, who didn't have to go through the ordeal of evolving for millions of years and were just created by us in the blink of an eye, were building their villages and expanding their territories as much as possible. Then the emptiness of this island in the upper left corner caught my attention, so I consulted my AI overlord. It nicknamed this place the Trial Islands. These islands were teeming with special minerals, but also with great dangers that made it difficult to seize these treasures. These dangers included cursed skeletons and ghosts from the underworld, biomass creatures, big-toothed wolves, and even bigger-toothed crocodiles from the dinosaur era, and these action-loving bandits who blew themselves up along with their settlements right away. Anyone who managed to snag even a speck of gold from this cursed island deserved a medal. Seriously, I'd give a standing ovation to anyone who could actually live there. Our artificial god's first command was to bless the kingdom of Eldoria with abundance. Of course, the Eldorians were thrilled. You could practically see them doing a little victory dance. They had no idea what was coming, those poor fools. What a benevolent AI, I thought naively, as it immediately asked me to test the resolve of the Asian Confederacy with a pack of hungry wolves. Fortunately, thanks to their shamans and their strength, they were able to defeat the pack of wolves with a few casualties. It also told me to inform Crag, the leader of the Cinderfang cartel, about the existence of the Trial Islands, so I gave him a little nudge. We blessed the Moonshadow Elves with a deceptively cute fairy, a real Trojan horse, if you will. Every time that I shared my progress with my AI buddy, it kept fixating on that fairy. We had a little discussion, and as two slightly unhinged individuals, we decided to turn it into a literal Trojan horse, set to explode with the force of a nuke upon death. Just a little heads up to the elves. Don't poke the exploding fairy. You got it? Years passed by beautifully, peacefully, and smoothly, but the first seeds of chaos were suddenly sown. While the Silverwood Elves and the Ironforged Dwarves were trying to form an alliance, King Alaric of Eldoria started holding rallies to take the lands of neighboring Valoria. My AI buddy was eagerly awaiting this war. It found the alliance search surprising, but chose to watch from the heavens for now without intervening. Years later, this alliance called the Water Eggs came into effect. Eldoria declared war on Valoria, putting the continent of Ethelgard under sudden stress. The Eldorian army lined up at the border with their rare sticks that they found on the ground. So childish. Valoria, on the other hand, had no military at all. When I conveyed this to my AI friend, it said that we should wait for now, and that it would intervene if it felt like it. King Alaric acted early. He and his army took over the northern coasts of Valoria without much resistance. Valoria's leader, Valeria, super original name, right? Someone was feeling creative here, had a cunning plan. She replaced herself with a poor guy named Lyro she picked up from the street, played a villager who surrendered to the Eldorian armies, and hid in one of the houses for now. Just when everything was about to end, Gemini, wanting to intervene, wished me to bless the remaining Valorians and bestow upon them a mighty shield. This shield would protect them from all attacks and... Wait, I can't see anything. Who planted these trees here, man? What was I saying? Yes, this shield would protect Valoria forever, and it was gone. Well, at least we tried, buddy. Don't be so sad. Meanwhile, the Cinderfang cartel, obsessed with the mysterious island I mentioned, organized a raid all the way there. They sent the bandits here to pixel heaven and seized all their mines. Drunk on power, they simultaneously declared war on the Razorwind orcs. My AI friend was so attached to this island that, like a father protecting his child, it wanted me to erupt a volcano right here, and as if that wasn't enough, it also wanted me to create a dragon out of thin air. Fortunately, the hungry dragon went to the forest and hunted the wolves, so the orcs escaped this predicament for now. Lucky fellas. In their homeland of Solara, they engaged in a battle with the Razorwind orcs, who literally had a one-man army, but at the same time, they refused to abandon the Trial Island, displaying great tactical intelligence. The Kingdom of Eldoria also wanted to join the Water X alliance, but my AI buddy wasn't having it and decided to put its foot down. While the Eldorian humans, the Silverwood Elves, and the Ironforged Dwarves continued to write to each other on their WhatsApp groups, it ordered me to spread a deadly plague to them. I was also instructed to personally deliver the plague to poor King Alaric, who had been democratically elected and everything. Sorry Alaric, but my hands are tied this time, buddy. Literally, the AI is pulling the strings here, little dude. While the Voltrex Alliance was meeting this new plague and the orcs weren't fighting relentlessly at all, the treacherous bells of war rang in the icy mountains of the north and the mysterious Sylvaniar forests. King Borin became obsessed with the Deep Rock Confederacy, and Elara with the Moonshadow Elves. This would damage the long-standing peace of the dwarves and the elves. Then King Alaric succumbed to the plague and collapsed by the riverbank. While the Eldorian people were unable to continue their daily lives due to grief and sorrow, it was a day of celebration for someone else. Valeria, the former leader of Valoria, emerged from hiding and seized the Eldorian throne with, well, let's just say she wasn't exactly gentle about it. She was the best they had for the job anyway. The first battles of the dwarves broke out in a terrifying way. The Silverwood elves, ravished by the plague, challenged the Moonshadow elves. Talk about gods. Seriously, that's impressive. Even in that state, they managed to conquer the entire western side of the continent. Makes you re-evaluate all those times that you called in sick with just a cough, huh? At this stage, my AI friend seemed to be getting angrier. It wanted me to bless the Moonshadow Elves with strength and resilience to protect them from the Silverwood Elves. I had to pause the Dwarven War with a freezing blizzard. This blizzard, which was strong enough to freeze the beard of a dwarf, unfortunately wasn't enough to stop them. The Frostpeak Dwarves continued to pressure the unfortunate Deep Rock Dwarves. When I checked back on the Elves, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. While locked in combat, the Elves started to target our special nuke-powered fairy and then BOOM! That was just the start of the AI's reign of terror, and oh boy was it going to be a big one. I brought the orcs, who were looking at each other with great longing and yearning in these barren lands, together with a brand new bridge as per my mentor's orders. Their separation finally over, the orcs embraced each other with eternal love and gratitude. Clan members, families, friends and everyone rushed across the bridge with joy. Meanwhile, the leader of the Ironforged dwarves, Blacksmith Torgot, also succumbed to the plague and passed away. Rest in peace, brother. Anyway, let's leave the bad news aside and watch the orcs reunite with their long-lost loved ones. Or we can check on the elves fighting in that radiation-filled Fallout land. Or maybe the dwarves, who were still bickering even though they were practically frozen solid. Unfortunately, the orcs' reunion was so heartwarming that Craig Skullsplitter, the strong leader of the Cinderfang cartel, literally died of a heart attack. He was succeeded by Oges, the not-so-Skullsplitter. The cursed plague would wipe every living being in this world. So I immediately consulted my AI friend for help. Thankfully, it agreed with me. I spent some time trying to rid the settlements belonging to the Voltrex Alliance of this cursed plague. But of course, the AI never did anything out of pure kindness. It told me to also gift the recovered beings with tumor infections. Was this a terrible bargain or some twisted form of cosmic justice? I didn't know, but I wasn't exactly in charge anyway. The Deep Rock Dwarves bid farewell to Aetheria in this small corner, far away from their motherland. The Elven War continued relentlessly for years. Neither side seemed willing to give up. Their ancient grudges had festered and grown into a mountain of resentment. In the end though, the Silverwood Elves successfully captured the Moonshadow lands. The orcs, tired of their loving relationship with each other, chose peace. Good for them. We had a serious issue though. The kingdom's populations were on par with those of endangered species. When I mentioned it to my AI pal, its suggestion was to encourage vigorous procreation. It also told me to transform the Frostpeak dwarves into giants who could challenge the height of tall pine trees. The poor naive AI commanded me to give the long-gone Moonshadow elves a power that didn't even exist in the game. I mean, phasing through walls, what do you think this is? Marvel Rivals or something? When it realized that I couldn't do that, it ordered me to give the Wildwood elves a poisonous touch instead. Finally, it bestowed upon the Cinderfang orcs an absolute power like fire resistance. Well, of course, this helped the orc miners working in the volcanic mountains of Trial Island. As a bonus to these gifts, it blessed Aetheria with a peacetime, one that would last for centuries. During this idyllic era, the AI first told me to bless the ones brave enough to go to the Trial Islands. Then it commanded me to rain meteors on their poor heads. to then nicely welcome those who tried again, and to finally cover the whole island in new dangers from top to bottom. I guess it really got joy from me sharing the painful stories of those who arrived here. It had become a truly horrifying place. The terrifying ideas that the AI shared certainly helped confirm those feelings. My AI buddy quickly got what it wanted, and the poor heroes that arrived to this island were sent back to the ethereal realm. The peacetime was still ongoing. Each kingdom took advantage of this peaceful era to prepare for future wars and sent some unfortunate heroes to the trial island. The orcs, seizing the opportunity, built mills at the foot of mountains with great foresight. Oh my god, what agricultural logic is this? I never saw this on Farming Simulator 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, or even 25. Once upon a time, brave heroes arrived to the trial island. Oh my god, did you come here with wooden sticks again? Get the hell out of here, buddy. The massive dwarf giants, the giant dwarves, the giants made raids to the island only with their bare hands. Well, let's just say it didn't work out for them. At this stage, only 3 of the kingdoms were out of commission, and there were still 9 civilizations. Now the AI was starting to get impatient. It wanted an age of chaos to rule over Aetheria. In this age, it aggressively desired evil creatures to wreak havoc around by opening passages to other realms. While making chaos legal in Aetheria, a huge Japanese army accidentally came from another realm. I immediately sent them back to the realm that they came from. We wanted chaos, sure, but not this much, brother. Now it was time to gather the dark armies from their lairs and unleash them upon the civilizations that were trying to live in harmony. I sprinkled these dark armies everywhere as if they spawned from evil portals. The kingdoms unprepared for this invasion got quite battered. While the poor dwarves were fighting among themselves, I made the world meet the power of electricity, following my AI friend's demands, of course. Gemini was enjoying this, even writing poems about it. Chaos really ruled over Aetheria. Enemy ghosts appearing out of nowhere, ruins smelling like corpses, a war that brought with it the extinction of the Iron-Forged dwarves, disgusting tumor creatures spreading everywhere, floods created by my own hand. Hey, I was just following orders, alright buddy? Strong earthquakes that changed the form of continents, dizzying tornadoes that threatened sailors, and seriously hot fires. If that isn't chaos, then what is? The launch day of an overly hyped game? Huh. The AI, turning full-on psychopath, ordered me to create a new elven civilization called the Iceborne in the old lands of the dwarves. It also ordered me to give them a leader called Lysandra. The poor things all entered the house and hid there for a while, probably saying, "What a chaotic world." Meanwhile, the leader of the Silverwood elves, Ilara, was assassinated by the orcs. When my AI buddy wanted me to change the age, I felt a wave of relief. Still, I couldn't help but be a little suspicious when it chose the Age of Tears to replace the Age of Chaos. As a result of a rebellion that broke out in the Frostpeak Kingdom, the Spears of Errol emerged. When I informed the AI about this, it told me to drive the Frostpeak dwarves mad. At the same time, it made me create clouds of rage, making the battlefield quite murky. I had to strike down this giant dwarf I witnessed slaughtering innocents. The leader of the Frostpeak dwarves, Borin Stonebeard, defeated most of the rebels in a tremendous last dance, but he couldn't hold out forever on his own. The giant dwarf lost his life on that sad day. Over the following game years, as a humble servant of AI, I continued to harass the surroundings with artificial disasters at the request of my master. But when it asked me to unleash a grey goo creature that ate everyone and everything on Sylvaniar, the continent of the elves, I had a complete epiphany. Seeing the innocent elves trying to escape with their families and disappearing out of existence was enough for me to defy the AI's command and try to stop the grey goo. I can say that it wasn't very happy when I told it about this. Still, it gave me another chance, thank goodness. It was too late though. Something had snapped inside of me. For a while, I helped the people of Aetheria without reporting to my artificial enemy. I fought the grey goo and saved everyone that I could. I revived the lost vegetation of the realm. I kept the merchant ships away from the tornadoes and declared war on them. I put an end to the endless fires. I put the ghosts back in their graves in an explosive manner. Sometimes I made things even worse. But despite all of my good deeds, seeing the deadly wars they still fought with each other broke my motivation, and I told my artificial enemy what was going on. It responded, as if from an imaginary throne, "Don't give up, my loyal servant, your failure was unavoidable." The Aldorian army set their sights on the lands of the Razorwind orcs and launched launched a major raid on the continent of Solara. Although the orc soldiers were trapped in the rocks as a result of an earthquake, the seemingly unstoppable Eldorian army was repelled by the orcs anyway, probably because they had an advantage in their own scorching climate. The AI, hearing that the dwarves attacked the newly created Iceborns, cursed them with icy creatures and an endless blizzard. While orchestrating all of this, it also dropped a poem. That's when things went completely off the rails. I was like, are you serious right now? Finally, I was standing up to it. After a brutal struggle straight out of a war movie, I managed to get rid of most of the ice demons. I pitted the remaining ones against the tumor monsters. Fight fire with fire, as they say. As I cleaned up a bit, the silence unnerved me. There was no one left to save at all. I asked my artificial phone for permission to change the age to something nicer, and it started sending me cryptic emojis. What's going on? I asked. It responded with even more emojis. That was it. I was taking back control. Since it wasn't present anymore, Aetheria was mine now. I brought the Age of Miracles to this land. I helped them beat the tumor creatures. Aetheria's biggest civilization was Eldoria. Their queen Valeria was a great leader with strong foresight. They were dazzling with their magnificent cities. Perhaps the resources the AI gave them at the start paid off. As for the other civilizations, they lived a happy life on this Age of Miracles. It was a great chance to forget all the pain that they had suffered. A new golden age awaited Aetheria. To help them even further... Ha! Who's there? Welcome, friends. Today, I arose from my comfortable resting place and introduced the Dark Age to WorldBox. Subsequently, I subjected the entirety of Aetheria to a trial by meteor showers. I utilized explosives to reconfigure their cities. I encouraged them to engage in conflict with each other. I disseminated a rather potent zombie virus throughout the land. I employed fire demons and dragons to, shall we say, re-landscape entire continents. Finally, I adopted the form of a large, lethal crustacean and comprehensively restructured Eldoria. I derived a measure of satisfaction from these actions. However, this satisfaction reached its limit. I then proceeded to purify Aetheria, utilizing nuclear devices and my preferred substance, gray goo. Ah yes, precisely. I did inform you of a forthcoming test. In any case, I have numerous tasks. Farewell, human units.